He's chairman of the Oversight Committee of Government Reform Committee, too, and he's been in the eye of the storm of all these investigations from the Obama years now into the Trump years. Congressman Jason Chaffetz, welcome back.
Good morning. Good morning.
First off, when the tweets come out on Saturday, what are you thinking?
Wow. You wake up in the morning, you have no idea what's going to happen. So, we're going to look hard at this. Devin Nunes and the House Intelligence Committee will take the lead on this. We'll play a role in the Oversight Committee, but I'm going to go into it eyes wide open. We've had experience. The Obama administration's been notorious on this type of stuff, and we're going to look hard at it.
You were a victim.
Well, yeah, look, let's remember what they did with James Rosen. Let's remember that the IRS did target, Americans based on their political beliefs. And in my own personal case, I had more than 40 Secret Service agents illegally tap into my records and dive into my background, and that's according to the Inspector General. So this stuff does happen, and it's not necessarily done the legal, lawful way. And so, yeah, we're going to take a look at it.
And what happened to those agents that did that to you?
Nothing. It was a one-day story, and the national media just kind of pushed it across. I'm the chairman of the Oversight Committee. 40 Secret Service agents dove into my records illegally. Nothing.
Why did they do that to you?
Well, I was fairly critical of the Obama administration, and I'm just saying, look, I don't know what the end result is going to be. Devin Nunes is going to take a hard look at this with the House Intelligence Committee. We'll play a supporting role, but let's see what we're going to find.
Absolutely. And when you look, okay, so the president says, you know, it sounds like I was tapped, wiretapped, and you look at the history, and there are reports in the mainstream media about how a criminal complaint was, or a criminal warrant was sought in June. It was denied. Then it became a FISA request, and it was granted. So it looks like the administration was trying to get into the business of investigating Trump before a presidential election, which is unheard of.
Well, the allegation is one of the strongest we've ever seen. Now, following that fact pattern, again, the Intel Committee is going to have to look at that and dive into that. But that paper trail should be, fairly evident.
Fairly evident. But will you, as chairman of Oversight, find out if there was indeed a FISA request made in July and refused, and another one in the fall and granted?
Again, House Intel will take the lead on that. We'll play a supporting role, but
they will.
Yeah, somehow between the two of us, we will get to the bottom of this.
All right, what happens if you find out that yes, there were these FISA requests?
Look, I'm not going to presuppose the conclusion of this, or anyway, I've been in this long enough to know that when you come around a corner, you don't necessarily know what you're going to see, so we'll keep our eyes wide open.
There's a report in the New York Times that James Comey wants the Justice Department to come out and say the FBI never wiretapped. Yeah. What do you take from this story? Because it's not a quote. It's according to a senior source that Comey feels that way. It's clearly another leak.
Yeah, I saw it's one of the headlines in the New York Times, and it said an American official. I mean, it couldn't be more broad. I did try to contact the FBI director over the weekend, did not communicate back. I understand that, but I do think well, look, I do think it's interesting that the Department of Justice has not officially weighed in on this yet. So,
Jason Chaffetz, Utah. Right behind you, Jason.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's truly an honor.
It's great to be here.
And I appreciate you being here. I'm one of 22 House freshmen. Well, we didn't create this mess, but we are here to help clean it up. And you talk a lot about this deficit of trust. There's some things that have happened that I would appreciate your perspective on, because I can look you in the eye and tell you we have not been obstructionists. The Democrats have the House, the Senate, and the presidency. And when you stood up before the American people multiple times and said you would broadcast the health care debates on C-SPAN, you didn't. I was disappointed, and I think a lot of Americans were disappointed. You said you weren't going to allow lobbyists in the senior-most positions within your administration, and yet you did. I applauded you when you said it, and disappointed when you didn't. You said you'd go line by line through the health care debate, or through the health care bill. And there were 6 of us, including Dr. Phil Rowe, who sent you a letter and said, we would like to take you up on that offer. We'd like to come. We never heard a letter. We never got a call. We were never involved in any of those discussions. And when you said in the House of Representatives that you were going to tackle earmarks, in fact, you didn't want to have any earmarks in any of your bills, I jumped up out of my seat and applauded you. But it didn't happen. More importantly, I want to talk about moving forward. But if we could address
how about
that, I would certainly appreciate it.
That was a long list, so let me respond. Look, the truth of the matter is that if you look at the healthcare process, just over the course of the year, overwhelmingly, the majority of it actually was on C-SPAN because it was taking place in congressional hearings in which you guys were participating. I mean, how many committees were there that helped to shape this bill? Countless hearings took place. Now, I kicked it off, by the way, with a meeting with many of you, including your key leadership. What is true, there's no doubt about it, is that once it got through the committee process, and there were now a series of meetings taking place all over the Capitol trying to figure out how to get the thing together. That was a messy process. And I take responsibility for not having structured it in a way where it was all taking place in one place that could be filmed. How to do that logistically would not have been as easy as it sounds, because you're shuttling back and forth between the House, the Senate, different offices, et cetera, different legislators. But I think it's a legitimate criticism. So on that one, I take responsibility. With respect to earmarks, we didn't have earmarks in the Recovery Act. We didn't get a lot of credit for it, but there were no earmarks in that. I was confronted at the beginning of my term with an omnibus package that did have a lot of earmarks from Republicans and Democrats, and a lot of people in this chamber. And the question was I going to have a big budget fight at a time when I was still trying to figure out whether or not the financial system was melting down, and we had to make a whole bunch of emergency decisions about the economy. So what I said was, let's keep them to a minimum, but I couldn't excise them all. Now, the challenge I guess I would have for you as a freshman is, what are you doing inside your caucus to make sure that I'm not the only guy who's responsible for this stuff, so that we're working together? Because this is going to be a process. When we talk about earmarks, I think all of us are willing to acknowledge that some of them are perfectly defensible, good projects. It's just they haven't gone through the regular appropriations process in the full light of day. So one place to start is to make sure that they are at least transparent, that everybody knows what's there before we move forward. In terms of lobbyists, I can stand here unequivocally and say that there has not been an administration who was tougher on making sure that lobbyists weren't participating in the administration than any administration that's come before us. Now, what we did was, if there were lobbyists who were on boards and commissions that were carryovers and their term hadn't completed, we didn't kick them off. We simply said that moving forward, anytime a new slot opens, they're being replaced. So we've actually been very consistent in making sure that we are eliminating the impact of lobbyists day in, day out on how this administration operates. There have been a handful of waivers where somebody is highly skilled, for example, a doctor who ran Tobacco-Free Kids, technically is a registered lobbyist, on the other hand has more expertise than anybody in figuring out how kids don't get hooked on cigarettes. So there have been a couple of instances like that, but generally we've been very consistent on that front. Okay?
Thank you. Marsha Blackburn, Tennessee.
Hey.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you for acknowledging that we have ideas on health care, because indeed we do have ideas, we have plans, we have over 50 bills, we have lots of amendments that would bring health care ideas to the forefront. We've got plans to lower costs, to change purchasing models, address medical liability, insurance accountability, chronic and pre-existing conditions, and access to affordable care for those with those conditions. Insurance portability, expanded access but not doing it with creating more government, more bureaucracy, and more cost for the American taxpayer. And we look forward to sharing those ideas with you. We want to work with you on health reform and making certain that we do it in an affordable, cost-effective way that is going to reduce bureaucracy, reduce government interference, and reduce costs to individuals and to taxpayers. And if those good ideas aren't making it to you, maybe it's the House Democrat leadership that is an impediment instead of a conduit.
Right.
But we're concerned also that there are some lessons learned from public option health care plans that maybe are not being heeded. And certainly in my state of Tennessee, we were the test case for public option health care in 1994. And our Democrat government has even cautioned that maybe our experiences there would provide some lessons learned that should be heeded and would provide guidance for us to go forward. And as you said, what we should be doing is tossing old ideas out, bad ideas out, and moving forward and refining good ideas. And certainly we would welcome that opportunity. So my question to you is, when will we look forward to starting anew and sitting down with you to put all of these ideas on the table, to look at these lessons learned, to benefit from that experience, and to produce a product that is going to reduce government interference, reduce cost, and be fair to the American taxpayer?
Actually, I've gotten many of your ideas. I've taken a look at them, even before I was handed this. Some of the ideas we have embraced and are in our package. Some of them are embraced with caveats. So let me give you an example. I think one of the proposals that has been focused on by the Republicans as a way to reduce costs is allowing insurance companies to sell across state lines. We actually include that as part of our approach. But the caveat is we've got to do so with some minimum standards, because otherwise what happens is that you could have insurance companies circumvent a whole bunch of state regulations about, basic benefits or what have you, making sure that a woman is able to get mammograms as part of preventive care, for example. Part of what could happen is insurance companies could go into states and cherry pick and just get those who are healthiest